The House Homeland Security Committee, Congressman Nick LaLota. Congressman, good evening to you, and thank you so much for being here.
Good evening. Happy to be on.
If we can go ahead and dig into this, obviously one of the things we're waiting for, and this may unfold in the coming days, weeks, or months, is what Teixeira's motive was specifically here. Reports indicate that he was trying to impress a group of friends that he had become very close with, and that he put these documents out there to that limited group of people, and possibly it was one of those people who then spread those documents wider. Either way, it's a major breach. How do you think this is going to be handled if there are multiple people involved? And also, do you think that the burden lies on the people who actually leaked as much as it does for the government allowing this kind of access? Because that's sort of been a debate we've been hearing about.
Yeah, so sure. So first off, the individual who did this needs to be held accountable. And I should say on the outset, I had the fortune of serving with many young men and women who held classified information. I had a top secret clearance when I was in the Navy myself, and we all took that role and responsibility very seriously, as do 99.99% of our young and old military folks. We take that very seriously. For an individual like this, who messed up, who broke his oath, who didn't have the accountability that his job required, he should be held very accountable. If bosses were supposed to be supervising the space to which he had access, they should also be held accountable. But I have to say, this is the exception. This is not the norm. But when somebody commits a crime like this, and is absolutely a crime, that individual absolutely needs to be held accountable.
Understood. Former Director of National Intelligence, John Ratcliffe, earlier calling this a black eye for the Biden administration. Listen to this.
This is bad from every angle. I mean, the fact that a 21-year-old kid, let's face it, apparently living with his mother, has just had a profound impact on world events and diplomatic relations. In addition to the damage, the strain to relations with our allies, and the propaganda win for our adversaries, are the questions about the Biden administration. As you talked about, the fact that they're not apparently taking this as seriously as they need to.
And that's a big issue. President Biden in Ireland essentially dismissing what happened here. Many people take issue with that, sir.
Yeah, so sure. I think that we're missing accountability from this administration. And whether that's the million-plus folks who have crossed our southern border illegally, or the 100,000 fentanyl deaths that have resulted from it, or the botched withdrawal from Afghanistan, or the downed drone over the Black Sea by the Russians. We haven't seen accountability. This administration needs to be accountable for itself, hold our adversaries accountable, and this is another example of that. We need to ensure that we did first admit that there was not only a mistake, but a severe issue had here, and be accountable for it. That's the path forward to ensuring that we rebuild our trust with our allies over the globe, because it's been broken severely over the last couple of years.
And an additional aspect to that path forward that you referenced there, it was House Intel Chair Mike Turner demanding answers also on how this went unnoticed for several weeks. He said, quote, "While we seek to learn the extent of classified information released and how to mitigate the fallout, the House Intelligence Committee will examine why this happened, why it went unnoticed for weeks, and how to prevent future leaks." I mean, that second piece of this is also an additional embarrassment.
Yeah, we need to look forward on this as well. There's going to be a lot of Monday morning quarterback about how actually this young individual had access to so much. I saw the former defense secretary on earlier, and he was speaking about this individual, yes, having clearance, but he did not need to know the things that he leaked. There's going to be a lot of looking back to ensure that we have going forward the right policies so that folks who have access to the information and who put their hands on it truly have a need to know, and where there is not a need to know, those individuals ought not to have the access to it. I suspect that not only the Intelligence Committee, through its oversight mechanisms, is going to be involved in that, but also the Armed Services Committee, on which I sit, will also ensure that we hold the administration accountable for this as well.
And one of the themes that I'm seeing here, Congressman, is this notion of the cultural aspect of this leak. It feels like leaks are more commonplace in today's society, not necessarily with classified information specifically, but I'm thinking talking about that draft opinion of the Supreme Court decision on abortion and how technology also promotes access, right? If you think back 50 years ago, it was harder to leak documents or information if you wanted to. You would have to do it through a media or a news outlet, for example. What role do you think technology plays in all of this? Because this U.S. Guardsman was an IT professional. That was part of his role here.
Yeah, so we see this all over the spectrum, and not just in the intelligence community. We see this in social media. We see this on the internet. We see the good and bad of technology. And I think you're right to point out that government planners, intelligence supervisors need to develop protocols to ensure that those who they're supervising, who might seek to leak, that we have protections against that. I know that when I access secure intelligence facilities, I have to leave my smartwatch, my smartphone, and any other sort of recording device outside of that secure space. We need to analyze all the protocols we have to ensure that, to the extent that printers are on networks that have access to classified information, those printers are being monitored. I understand through open source reporting, that's how some of these documents got outside of these secure facilities. I think that this case is going to force all of us in Congress and those in the intelligence community to ensure that we have the right protocols in place to ensure this never happens again.
Congressman Nick LaLota, great to see you this evening. Thank you so much for your time.